Professor Namita Rajput, Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. In the ongoing series of Entrepreneurship and Venture Planning, today we are discussing the business plan. So let's now, in this part of my lecture, understand what is the outline of a business plan. Business plan is prepared after a deep feasibility study, which gives us the particular standards to accept or reject a particular project. There are a lot of efforts involved in making the business plan, and this is a prerequisite to kickstart the project. So, every business plan is different depending upon who prepared it, the conditions, the person who are preparing it, their outlook towards life, their risk appetite, and this is very common to all types of business, what we are going to discuss now. The outline of a business plan first of all starts with a title page, that what is the business all about, its particular address, phone number, the name of the founder, and most importantly it has the purpose for which you are starting the business, so that the stakeholders quickly identify and contact the business. The second vital aspect when you understand about the outline of a business plan is the table of contents. Now this particular section lists all the major components and the subcomponents of a business plan in order with the business page numbers. For example, the page number 3 has the executive summary of your business plan. Page number 4 is about the business description. Page number 6 is the market strategy, what you are adopting, and page number 10 is the financial projections, what you make. Now the purpose is that it makes the document reader friendly and allows a quick navigation. Now coming on to the executive summary of the business plan. It is a snapshot of a business plan written last but presented first. Now the example of a Fresh Bloom Organic Farms is that the business started in 2024. To supply the organic vegetables to the local market and also the restaurants. Offers pesticide-free vegetables using hydroponics, and the market is all about the health conscious people, the urban families and the organic food retailers. Coming on to the last and the long term plan, expand to 3 cities in 5 years. This is their expansion plan and this is where they want to be. There is a short term plan also where they partner with the 5 major retailers in Pune. There are certain financial projections what we have to take, that is expecting the revenue of 1 crore in year once with 20% growth annually. Now what is the purpose of it? The purpose is that it should generate the interest and persuade the investors to read the full plan. Now coming on to the business industry description. Describe the business background, the goals, the ownership structure and the role within the industry. For example, the goal is to become a leading organic food brand in Maharashtra. Coming on to the ownership. The partnership firm between Ravi and Neha, and the industry is all about agriculture and food retail. The legal structure is that your business will be registered under the Indian Partnership Act 1932, and the industry role is that it is providing an eco-friendly alternative to chemically grown procedure and the produce. There are certain projections which you have to keep in mind, that is targeting 10 crore turnover in 5 years with 25% market share in Pune organic segment. The fifth is your product or the service description, the detailed overview of the product or service offered and the unique value propositions. For example, the products, the organic spinach, lettuce, tomatoes, herbs, etc. The feature is that it is grown in a very controlled chemical free environment, and the USP, that is the special feature of this, is that it is hydroponic technique which saves water and also grows faster. There is a differentiator, that is it has been a very particular feature that it will be fresh within 24 hours of the delivery guaranteed. There is an intellectual property also that has a trademark for Fresh Bloom, that is naturally yours. Now coming on to the purpose of the business plan, it highlights why the customers should prefer your product over the products which are already available in the market, that is about your competitors. Then we have the organizational data with us, that is it has the details about the management, the team structure, and for example, we have Ravi Sharma, who is the operation head, MBA and 10 years in agriculture business. Neha Kapoor, who is a marketing head, MBA, 8 years in branding. The team includes the agronomist, the marketing executives, the delivery manager, the reporting structure. The team reports to the respective heads, department heads, and report to the partners. The purpose is that it showcases the professional capabilities and a clear organizational workflow. Then we have the marketing strategy with us. It explains how the business will reach and retain the customers. There's a target market, that is the urban health conscious families, organic restaurants, supermarkets. The market size is that it talks about 500 crores organic market in the Pune region. The pricing is that it is slightly premium compared to the conventional vegetables, that is 80 per kg versus 50 per kg. So there's a difference of 30 rupees per kg, which is owing to that organic feature. Now coming on to the promotion, the digital advertisements, the health blogs, influencer partnerships, the local farmers markets, etc. There's a distribution, how the delivery, B2B delivery to stores, online sales via website, and the purpose. It demonstrates the customer acquisition, retention, and the revenue generation plans. There's a competitive analysis, that is, it analyzes the competitors and analyzes the strategies to gain the market edge. There are some competitors which are there in the market like Organic Basket, the Nature's Fresh, the local farmers cooperative. The strength is that it is having a better logistics, hyperonic technique, the strong online presence. The weakness is that we are the new players in the market with a limited capacity of the production. The strategy is that we are having a very superior packing, the loyalty programs, and the faster delivery. Now the purpose is that it proves the preparedness to handle the market competition. The operational plan is that it outlines how the business operates and will be managed. The location is that it is having 2-acre hydroponic farms on the city outskirts. The facility is that it has having a greenhouse, the cold storage, and the packaging unit. The equipment is that it has the water filters, sensors, monitoring devices, trucks for the delivery. There is a technology, that is IoT for soilless farming, ERP for supply chain tracking, and the staff skills for the trained horticulturalist and the digital marketing team. Now coming on to what is the purpose, it shows a realistic implementation plan for producing and delivering the offerings, and also the financial information, that is what is the core section detailing the current and the projected financials. Like for example, the startup cost is 25 lakh of rupees, which stands for the land lease, the greenhouse, the seeds, and also the recurring expenses like salary. There is a projected revenue for 1 year, that is 1 CR. The projected expenses is about 75 lakhs. The net profit is 25 lakhs. The break-even point is 10 months, where we will be able to equate the total cost and the total revenue. The statements included the income statements, that is the revenue, expenses, and the profit. The balance sheet, that is the assets, liabilities, and equity. The cash flow statements, which shows the inflows and the outflows tracking. What is the purpose? It assures the investors and the banks of the financial viability and the return on investments, that is ROI. Now the conclusion part is that a business plan is not just a formality, it is a roadmap for the entrepreneurs and a trust building document for the stakeholders. The more detailed and well researched it is, the better for chances of success and also the funding. Now coming on to a very vital part, that is, what are the guidelines for making the successful business plans? Now, creating a successful business plan is both an art and also a science. A well-crafted plans acts as a roadmap to guide the entrepreneurs through a journey of establishing and growing a business. It aids in aligning the objectives, mobilizing the resources, securing the funding, and ensuring the smooth operations. So, we will be discussing the key guidelines that ensures the effectiveness and the success of a business plan. The first and the foremost thing what you have to keep in mind is set aside the timing for planning. A business plan should never be made in haste. There should be a proper planning which requires a dedicated time, patience, and the structured thinking. The entrepreneurs must set a sufficient time to think through each aspect of the business: the products, the services, the market demand, the target customers, competitors, operations, financial projections, and the risk management. Haphazard planning often leads to inconsistencies, overlooked details, and ineffective execution. Therefore, thoughtful and well invested time in planning is the first step towards success. Now, determine in advance what to accomplish. Before drafting the plan, it is very essential to define the purpose or the objective of the business plan. Entrepreneurs should clearly identify what they aim to accomplish. Is the plan meant to secure funding from the investors or the banks? And is it being prepared to revise or expand an existing plan? It is aimed at launching a new business venture, and also clearly understanding the purpose, which helps in tailoring the content, emphasis, and strategy of a business plan. It ensures that a plan remains focused and relevant to the key stakeholders. Access to accurate and updated information. A business plan is only an effective as the data it is based upon. Accurate, reliable, and up-to-date information forms the backbone of all planning decisions. Entrepreneurs should collect the data from, that is, the internal sources such as sales records, financial statements, inventory reports, and employee feedback. There are some external sources also which needs to have a special mention, including the market research reports, the customer trends, the investment analysis, competitor studies, economic indicators, and regulatory framework. This data helps in making a realistic assumption, understanding the opportunities and the threat, and making the informed decisions. Coordinate planning with efforts of others. Planning should not be done in isolation. A business involves the different departments and the personnel, and all of them must work cohesively towards the shared goals. Entrepreneurs must ensure that each team member is aware of their responsibilities, plan across the departments, the market operations, the finance, the HR. They are all synchronized and complementary to each other. Therefore, there is a very clear communication and coordination among all the team members. So, this collective approach presents a duplication of the efforts and ensures a harmony in implementation. Keep an open mind is the fifth important guideline for making the successful business plan. The entrepreneurs should approach the planning and the flexibility and also the creativity. Restricting oneself to a single method or a solution can lead to a missed opportunity. An open mind allows for exploration of alternative strategies and solutions, innovative thinking to tackle the complex problems, and adapting the new technologies or the business models. A broad perspective fosters a better problem solving and enhances the competitive edge of the business. There is a solicit inputs from others. A business plan should be the outcome of collective wisdom rather than an individual perception, engaging the different key stakeholders like partners, managers, employees, advisors, and consultants. It brings in the diverse insights, and this particular approach definitely enhances the quality and practicality of the plan. It ensures that the concerns of the different departments are properly addressed. It also builds the ownership and commitment towards the plan's goals. And remember, the planning is a team effort and not a solo task. The seventh aspect is your review the business plan thoroughly. Once the initial draft of the business plan is prepared, it must undergo a very comprehensive review process. The review should check whether the plan aligns with the business vision and the goals. All the critical components, market analysis, financial operations, risks are covered. Any gaps, assumptions, or contradictions exist in the plan. A well-reviewed plan is more realistic, actionable, and credible in the eyes of the stakeholders. Now, update the plan regularly. The business environment are constantly evolving due to the changes in the technology, the customer preferences, the regulatory norms, and the market dynamics. To remain competitive, a business plan must be regularly updated. The static plans become obsolete and irrelevant. Updating the plan helps the business incorporate the new opportunities and the challenges, adjust their strategies accordingly, maintain the relevant and the sustainability in changing the times. Make the plan accessible. The business plan should not remain a confidential document locked in the drawers. It must be accessible to the key employees and the team members who are involved in this execution. When the employees understand the plan, they work with a sense of direction and the purpose. They are better motivated and aligned with the business goals. They can contribute meaningfully towards achieving the targets. A shared understanding of the plan, it fosters the collaboration and accountability. Now, the major 10th point, as far as the guidelines for making the successful business plans are concerned, is the use of the plan for the implementation. A business plan should not just remain on the paper. It must be translated into a concrete action and the real world implementation. This involves procuring the required resources, appointing the contractors, engineers, staff, and the suppliers, making the financial arrangement for the capital investments, starting the production, marketing, distribution, and service delivery as per the plan. Effective implementation ensures that the objective of the plan are achieved within the specified cost and the time parameters. Moreover, after implementation, it is vital to assess the short-term and the long-term viability, track the progress, and make the necessary corrections. Now, we could conclude as far as the guidelines for making the successful business plans are concerned, a business plan is the foundation of a successful entrepreneur journey. It requires a systematic effort, collaboration, creativity, and continuous monitoring. So, by following these guidelines, what we have discussed, the entrepreneurs can make the best of the business plans that are robust, practical, geared towards growth and sustainability. And remember, a plan which is well made, well used, is a business which is well positioned for success. Now, coming on to the most discussed part of the lecture, that is when the business venture has to start, it has to go in for a feasibility study. So, let us dive into it. What is a feasibility study? A feasibility study is a systematic assessment of a proposed business idea or the product conducted before starting the venture. It is carried out to determine whether the business idea is practical, viable, and profitable. This study evaluates the different dimensions: technical, financial, marketing, socio-economic, to decide whether the project is worth pursuing. It serves as a decision-making tool that helps the entrepreneurs and the investors evaluate the risk, optimize the resources, and attract the support from the financial institutions, investors, the government agencies, and other stakeholders. Suppose an entrepreneur wants to open a solar panel manufacturing unit in Gujarat. A feasibility study would help assess whether the location has sufficient sunlight, access to the raw material, the skilled labor, and the nearby markets to make the business successful. There are some aspects of the feasibility study, that is, the feasibility study is multidimensional and comprises the following aspects. The technical aspects. This aspect deals with the practical implementation of the production process. The machinery, location, the site, the infrastructure, and the technology required. The location. Location refers to the broader area like a city, state, or region. The site is a very specific piece of land where the factory or the office is established. For example, a car manufacturing company like the Tata Motors chooses a Pune as a location because its proximity to the auto component manufacturers, but the actual site may be an industrialized and the industrial zone within Pune. There are some factors which is affecting the location, that is the primary and the size and the secondary factors. Now, the primary factors which are very useful in locating the location for a business venture is the availability of the raw material, the proximity to the market, the skilled labor which is available, transportation, and the power supply. There are some secondary factors also which are of very good importance, that is, what are the government incentives, the tax benefits, the political stability, the strategic location, and the climate, etc. The second is your size. It refers to the scale of operations, that is small, medium, or large, should match the entrepreneur financial capacity and the market demand. For example, a bakery planning to cater to a small town should choose a small scale setup, whereas a milk processing plant like Amul operating at a national level requires a large scale operations. Now, coming on to the technology part. It refers to the production technologies, whether labor intensive or capital intensive. The selection depends on the cost, product type, and the resource availability. Now, coming on to the example, the handloom textile production in the rural India uses a labor intensive technology, while automated biscuit factories like Parle G use the capital intensive machinery. The ancillary services. It includes the transportation, the warehousing, banking, insurance, waste management, etc. that supports the core business. Like for example, an e-commerce warehousing like Amazon fulfillment center requires 24/7 logistics, power backup, and insurance coverage. There are some disposal of effluents, that is, the project must comply with the environmental norms and install a proper system of waste disposal and the effluent treatment. For example, the chemical industries in Akhleshwar, Gujarat need effluent treatment plants to prevent the industrial pollution and comply with the environmental laws. There are some marketing or the commercial aspects, and these aspects evaluate the market demand, competition, pricing strategy, and the distribution channels of the products or the services. So, the feasibility has certain key points, that is the market size, demand forecasting, target market identification, that is local or global, the competition analysis, the sales strategies, and the customer preferences and the trends. So, definitely the feasibility study is most important. For example, a brand of organic skincare products must evaluate whether there is a sufficient demand amongst the urban consumer, the presence of competition brands like Mama Earth, and whether it can create a niche through the digital marketing. Now, coming on to the financial aspect. The financial feasibility determines the economic viability of the business by analyzing the fund requirements, the profit projections, the financial sources, and the expected returns. There are some key considerations to this, that is the cost of the fixed and the working capital, the debt to equity ratio, the profitability analysis, the break-even analysis, and the provision for the contingencies and the reserves. For example, a startup launching an electric two-wheeler must estimate how much capital is needed for the machinery, marketing, etc., and the inventory. It must also evaluate on how soon it can reach the break-even point and whether it will attract the venture capital or not and the funding or not. There are some financial aspect benefits: improved credit worthiness, stability in earnings, reinvestment planning, risk mitigation recession, minimize bad debts, and the socio-economic aspects and the impact. So, there are some important considerations like how much employment it is going to generate, the development of the backward areas, the contribution to GDP or the export earnings, upliftment of marginalized communities, environmental sustainability, and the consumer welfare. So, eventually you have to make a project report that it is a form of communication that provides a genuine feedback of the organization to facilitate the sound decision making. It records the findings, results of the project completed within a given time framework. It helps in developing a research model, hypothesis, collection of the data, interpreting and reaching the conclusions for improving the managerial practices. It also highlights the impact of the managerial action on the functional areas of the organization. It also highlights the impact of the managerial actions, and it also represents the derived output on the subject and enable the organization personnel to work further with the problem. It also has a scope for in-depth exploration of the subject. It helps in obtaining the assistance and non-financial managerial technical from the various institutes. So, there are some risk mitigation strategy which has to be in place. Every business, irrespective of its size, operates in an environment which is filled of uncertainties. So, a well drafted business plan must address these uncertainties with a very clear risk assessment and mitigation strategies. Besides this, it is also going to focus on the market risk, which can arise because of unpredictable market conditions such as changing of the customer preferences, etc. Operational risk because of the production, the financial risk because of the changes in the interest rate, government policies and default in the payment, the legal and the regulatory risk which can come because of the new regulation and like for example mandating of the biodegradable packing, etc. Now, there is a need for the business to implement these strategies, that is they have to diversify with the product lines, establish a strong operational protocols, managing the financial discipline and ensuring a regular legal audits. So, definitely keeping all this into considerations, we will have a very important risk mitigation strategies in place. Now, at the end, I would like to talk about the exit strategies, which is a very critical component of a business plan, especially when the seeking investors or the partners. It outlines how the stakeholders can realize a return on their investment either by selling the company, merging and transitioning, and obviously a well planned exit strategy also demonstrates the entrepreneur has a forecast, understands the business life cycle and respects the investors' interest. So, with all these lines, I hope it has been a good learning experience for all of you. Thank you very much.